Preservation Review Board regular meeting. This is a citizen board appointed by the town council to interpret and uphold the Historic Preservation Ordinance, which is Chapter 44, Section 2-4 of the Abington zoning ordinance that protects our historic district of Abington, which has been designated the Old and Historic District. Our aim on this board is to provide a positive bridge between the property owners of the district and the design review process. So we welcome you to today's meeting. We appreciate your interest and we encourage public participation in our meeting. Your comments are important in our decision-making process. Anyone addressing the board will approach the podium, identify your first and last name, and give your complete mailing address. I also would like to add that when we get to each COA, we'll have a staff report first, and then we will call up the person who is presenting the COA, and we'll have some public comment at that point.
Mr. Boyd?
Here.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Here.
Mrs. White? And Mrs. Bunn? Okay.
We have the minutes,
Yep.
approve the minutes from the September 6th, 2023. Have you guys had a chance to look them over? Any questions or comments or changes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll go ahead and put that.
Second.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Okay.
Our first certificate of appropriateness is Karen McClanahan, 107 West Main Street, and we're going to go ahead and let, I guess, Dave, you're doing the staff report on
Yep.
that? And then you can approach us.
So yes, Karen McClanahan, owner/applicant, has requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing rear carport's corrugated metal roof with architectural asphalt shingles, add a 5-inch K-style aluminum gutters and rectangular downspouts pre-finished white to match existing, and install a ceiling fan. The property is located at 107 West Main Street and is in the Old and Historic District, Sub-District 1. Some background. According to Places in Time, Volume 2 by Nancy C. King, the lot was used for a wagon business with a dwelling constructed in 1885. The J.L. and Martha Grant Shipley house that we see today replaced the previous dwelling and was constructed in 1938. A brick addition and carport were added to the rear of the 1938 building in 1960. Some staff findings. I also have some photos up here for you to see the carport and everything. So the applicant proposes to replace the existing 1960 rear carport's corrugated metal roof with architectural asphalt shingles. Those will be matching the existing shingles that you see on the existing main building. The replacement architectural shingles will match the architectural shingles found on both the original 1938 building and the 1960 rear addition. The architectural asphalt shingles will be timberline, color weatherwood. The carport's roof dimensions are 17 feet by 14 feet. On the underside of the 1960 carport, bead board and a ceiling fan will be installed to give a finished look to the underside of the structure. Both the bead board and ceiling fan will be pre-finished white to match the main building's trim color. The applicant also proposes to add 5-inch aluminum K-style gutters and rectangular downspouts onto the rear carport, matching the existing K-style gutters and downspouts found on the 1960 rear addition. The original 1938 building has half-round gutters and round downspouts. If granted approval by the HPRB, the applicant must apply for all applicable building permits. Here's some additional photos of the carport roof. If you have any questions for me or would like clarification on anything, I'd be more than happy to answer that. If not, the applicant is here and they can explain any or answer any questions you have.
Come on up and approach.
Karen McClanahan, 107 West Main Street, Abington, Virginia.
Do you have anything to add to anything that has
No,
been
he was
presented?
very specific. I just would like to replace this corrugated existing roof with a wooden one because I think that's such an eyesore. And the shingles will match on the existing house.
Okay.
Are you planning to increase the
Yes.
pitch?
Mhm. And Gabe said he would talk to the building inspector and get the specifics on it.
Yeah, because asphalt shingles
Yes.
don't
So
work on a
that
flat
will
roof.
Drain. Mhm. Yes.
Do we have any public comment on this project? Anyone care to make a motion or any more questions?
Are you leaving the posts?
No, they will be removed. The metal posts,
Uh-huh.
they will be removed.
And replaced with wood?
Um,
Or-
I think maybe a 4x4. I didn't get into those specifics with the guy that's going to help us do it. What would you recommend?
Well,
A 6x6?
it might be a little bit better proportioned.
A 6x6. These, we can't use these because you're gonna have to have the slope and they won't be tall enough.
Hmm. In the rear.
Correct.
I'll move that we approve the application.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Thank you. I do have a question. The gentleman that's going to help do this would like to get started this weekend, so where do I pick up my certificate? Do you mail that to me or
I'll be emailing it to you.
email it to
Yep.
me? And then I'll need to get a building permit, is that correct?
Go
Mhm.
through.
You'll
Mhm.
give me all the details?
Yep, I'll give you all the
right,
details.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next, we have Scott and Donna Siegel, over at 36 Valley Street.
So with that one, they still need some materials. They thought they would have had them by this meeting, but they didn't.
Okay.
So they've asked for it to be tabled
Okay.
until December. So what you would have to do now is just make a motion to table the item until your December
Can we
meeting.
do that?
I'd like to make a motion to table that until December.
A second.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye. Okay. Third item on our agenda is the courthouse construction project. So we'll let Gabe go ahead and get started, and then we'll open up the floor for comment.
I will say with this one's rather lengthy, so if you
Yeah.
need me to stop at any point, let me know. If you need me to clarify any kind of terminology or anything, please let me know, and I'd be more
Okay.
than happy to.
And if we need to break this up into sections, we may, depending on
Hmm.
how it goes. Okay.
Okay. Oh, let me get down to those pictures there. Give me 1 second. Okay, we'll start there. Washington County owner and Burwell Construction Company as the applicant has requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness to replace the existing cupola windows and metal roof and gutters. The property is located at 189 East Main Street. The property is in the Old and Historic District, Sub-District 1. Some background. According to Places in Time, Volume 1 by Nancy C. King, the courthouse was constructed in 1869. Greek Revival in style. The 3 stories are brick in Flemish bond pattern with a shallow hipped roof and Doric-style columns and portico. The bracketed cornice and 2-stage cupola reflect the Italianate style popular at the time. The stained glass window designed by the Tiffany Studio was added as a memorial to those who served during World War I. In your packets, you'll see a Sanborn map from 1855, and that shows it even with the cupola as well and everything. So even a previous one, they kind of use the same design in a
Okay.
sense. Other Sanborn maps from 1891, 1897, 1902, 1908, 1913, and 1922 show a similar image of the courthouse. Getting to staff findings, again, this is where if I need to break it up, just let
Yeah.
me know. Staff was contacted by a concerned member of the community during the week of November 16th through November 20th. I'm sorry, October, I should say October, not November. My apologies. The notification was that the cupola windows in the 1868 courthouse were being removed. Staff went to the site and talked with the applicant's associates and stated the removal of the cupola windows and replacement of the roof have not been permitted by the HPRB. Staff directed the applicant a COA application must be submitted into the review and reviewed by the HPRB before work can continue. While on site, staff directed the applicant's associates to save the windows that have already been removed. After the review on site, the applicant indicated a number of items were planned to be changed. The applicant proposes to replace the existing crimped dark green painted standing seam metal roof with 24-gauge metal snap lock standing seam roof with 1.5-inch rib height panels. Replace pre-finished white K-style gutters. Replace pre-finished white rectangular downspouts with 3-inch by 4-inch rectangular downspouts, pre-finished white to match existing, and the applicant proposes to replace the existing cupola windows, frame, and panes painted white in the existing 1868 courthouse. The existing crimped dark green painted standing seam metal roof has no ribs, striations, or exposed fasteners. The 24-gauge metal snap lock standing seam roof with 1.5 rib height panels is pre-finished a lighter green color, whereas the existing crimped standing seam metal roof is painted a darker green color. The replacement roof is a standing seam roof with no ribs, striations, or exposed fasteners. So when they say rib, I know sometimes we refer to rib in the middle of the panels. Rib just refers to the height of the seam that's standing. K-style gutters and rectangular downspouts were not part of the original 1868 courthouse. Metal K-style gutters and rectangular downspouts did not come into use until the mid-20th century, 1940s, 1960s. It depended on where you were at, but that's usually the time frame. A historically appropriate style of metal gutter and downspout would be half round with round downspouts pre-finished white. When installing new gutters, the gutter strap should be nailed under and not on top of the roofing material. For a comparison of the two, please see the photo on the next page in your packets. And as you can see here, here's kind of one of the photos that I've used where you can see the new roof up here where it's kind of a lighter green. And this is the darker crimped standing seam metal roof. That's here. If you have any questions for me on that part, I'd be more than happy to.
I think we can maybe just, well, I mean, you've got further staff findings, but we can, do you want to start with the other stuff and then go to the rest of the staff findings, or do you want to?
I can start with the next one if there's no questions from you all.
Why don't we just go ahead and do that one, and then we can go back?
Okay.
Okay.
The applicant proposes to replace the existing cupola windows, frames, painted white in the existing 1868 courthouse. According to the applicant, the current 8 existing windows consist of 1 partial original wooden window with 12 of the 16 glass panes intact, 6 previously replaced wooden windows with plexiglass panes, and 1 vinyl frame replacement window. The 8 existing windows will be replaced with wood, aluminum-clad windows painted white and will have the same pane patterns as the existing. All panes will be glass. Except for one of the existing windows, all other window frames are wooden with no vinyl or aluminum cladding. Based on photos, there are 6 original wooden windows with 16 panes apiece. A few window panes are glass, whereas the majority are plexiglass. Plexiglass was invented in 1933 by Otto Rahm and would not have been a material present when the courthouse was constructed in 1868. So as we've kind of heard about with our, when we had our David Hoggard come for window restoration, he mentioned how panes were removed if they were broken. So as if, the original were glass, probably when one of them broke, the pane itself was taken out and replaced with a plexiglass pane. That's probably what exactly happened. So the frame never changed, it was just the glass panes individually. As time went on and they broke, they probably got replaced with plexiglass. So typically, historic window panes can be easily replaced with another pane without replacing the entire window. The change from glass to plexiglass seen here is an example of this repair technique. All 8 existing window openings can be clearly seen from either East Main Street, North Court Street, or Plum Alley. According to the design review guidelines, windows should be preserved in their original location, size, and design with their original materials and number of panes. When comparing the original window frames to the proposed replacements, there are numerous differences in the head, rail, style, and possibly mutton of the window. And in your packets, you can kind of see where I've given you pictures of the existing, and also in there, as you'll see later, kind of an evolution of them. As we go further on, you'll see an evolution of where the original was. There's a replacement of the 12 then it went to vinyl, then you'll have their replacement, but we'll get there later here. If replacement is deemed appropriate and found to be necessary, the replacement window should match the window being replaced in both material and design. These include muttons, window trim, window sill, and any other components of the window assemblage. The original windows would not have had vinyl or aluminum cladding, given the original windows were installed around 1868. When staff inspected the existing windows, they were found to have true divided panes. So I'll switch over to this. This will maybe help us with some of the pictures a little bit
Yeah,
more.
those are good.
Let me bring up the one where it's an evolution of them. Oop. So it kind of, when it extruded here, it kind of messed it up here. But this is one of the, what I would consider an original window. So it has 16 panes, it's all wood. Some of the mods are obviously missing, but it's there. And then here's where, at some time, they replaced the original 16 with a 12-pane wood window. And then they, one vinyl window. Here's what they're proposing. So as you can see, there are differences in the overall dimensions of the assemblage of the piece. These are a lot thinner. The head right here, the rail, and the stiles are the side, and possibly the muns too, do not match what the original was, as you can see here. If you would like me to continue, if you would like me to continue, I can move to the shutter portion, or if we want to just tackle the windows, we can
I think
start now.
let's start with the windows, because there's a lot of information here, I think.
Okay,
And then we can go on to the shutters and to the roof.
okay.
You want to start with the windows or the roof?
We can start with let's start with the roof, and then we'll go to
Okay.
the windows. Let's have the applicant come up and describe their project, and then we'll move to then we'll do public comment for that
Yeah.
section.
I'm Nick Self with Burwell Construction, representing property 189 East Main Street, Washington County Courthouse. We're gonna start with the roof.
Yep.
In the roof, the report clearly explains what we are proposing to put on the roof and what we started putting on the roof. It was originally bid and it was in our construction packet, and it's our fault for not understanding it wasn't already approved. We matched the original roof with the original metal color. If you'll go to the actual pictures, you can see in the pictures where the paint's peeled off. That green right there, this green in this corner right here and this corner right here is the green we used to match the original roof. We did not match the original roof to what had been painted on the original metal roof that was there, which is not the original metal. But we have matched it to the actual roof material that was on the building and not what it had been painted. The dark green is a painted surface on, I guess, a previous replacement metal.
Can you use your arrow and show me? Because I can't see that screen.
Sure.
Sorry.
Can you zoom in at all?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Give me one
You can
second.
see this,
while I-
that
That's
corner right
paint,
there?
that lighter green you're saying is
It
paint?
Is paint that was on the metal when it was installed. The dark green has been painted after the fact. Basically,
Okay.
I'm gonna say to prevent it from when it started leaking. I can't confirm that, but it had been painted, the metal had been painted previously. And so we went back and matched
That green?
the metal that was the originally
Okay.
painted metal.
Any questions about that?
As far as downspouts and gutters, we will do whatever y'all think is historically appropriate.
Has that crimped roof been leaking?
Yes. Yes, it's been leaking.
Excuse me, sir, could you come up to the front and, thank you.
I'm Kevin Hill. I work for Washington County. I'm over General Services, which is the maintenance department. I've been in this position for 10 years, and I know we've had leaks for the last 10 years. If you go up in the attic of the old courthouse, there's 5-gallon buckets sitting there to catch some of the water drips that we've got. So I feel like it's time that we do a roof replacement. And from what I understand, from what I can ask in the office, they did paint the roof about 12 years ago, something like that. And I was not a part of it at that point in time, so I can't speak for who did it or why they done it or what have you. But as he's saying, the original color is where his cursor is at, right there.
The lighter color.
Yep.
Do you have any questions about that, Peyton? Comments?
There was some question about the original ornaments up on the, we took those down, repaired those, bondoed, the metal was rotten. They were wood ornaments wrapped in metal. And we bondoed those back and reflashed those correctly when it got re-roofed sometime in the past. They basically roofed up on top of part of those ornaments. And that was a lot of the reason it was leaking. It had been roofed.
So are those visible now?
Are they what?
Visible.
Oh, yes, they're back on. We repaired them and repainted them the original color and put them back in place.
Are they the brackets or?
No, they're up on top, on the ridges of the steeple.
Do we have a
Very
picture
at
of
the
that?
top.
Talking about these right here?
Up
No,
very
no,
top.
they're on top on the ridge. Keep going up. See if you can find a picture.
There's a weather vane.
Yeah.
Like
The
that?
weather vane, they're on the ridges going up to the weather vane. There's some curlicue things. There was, I think, I've forgotten who came out there, but they asked about them.
Oh,
You can see
Those,
them right
they're
there.
those
Yeah.
things?
Yes.
Okay.
And all those are back in place now on the top?
All those are back in place.
So that top roof has the new standing seam?
Yes, it does, Peyton. It does, and the one underneath it.
And what are you gonna do with that sort of base detail at the bottom of the upper section that this crimped roof kind of goes into?
That.
Which one?
Well, that sort of curved,
Oh, we
Piece.
weren't gonna, right now, we don't see it as being a leak issue. We were gonna leave it. We were just replacing the standing seam.
and painted to match the light.
We can paint it to match the original if that's what.
When you said
needs
you were
to
gonna
happen.
replace it, what,
No, replace the standing seam is all we were replacing. That curved piece Peyton's asking about,
This
where
one
the
here?
cursor is,
Yeah.
Oh,
we were
that
not
piece,
gonna
okay.
replace that.
Probably would look better if it's all
all
the
done
same.
at the same time?
I mean, I can get with the roofer and we can come up with a way to make that.
Make it,
Yes, that's a bent piece of metal. It is not, it doesn't appear straight. It appears like it's got
it does.
Yeah, it does.
curve-
It's
a
got
curve
just
in it.
open it.
If it's not leaking, I was just
That's what I was
suggesting it
gonna
can be
say.
painted.
Oh, yes, yes, we can paint it to
Not-
match the same color.
Not
Yes,
making a new
sir.
one necessarily.
Yes, sir. I thought you were asking to make it new. No,
Are
we
you
can
sure-
paint
Are you
it.
sure that that's not leaking there? You know, that that's all, there's no leaks in that?
Yeah,
right there?
I'm pretty sure it's not.
No,
Not
Right.
today. Now, it may, the next rain.
Gotcha.
I mean, you know, but.
Can I ask for any public comment on this part of the project? Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Just talking about on the roof.
Just the
Just the
roof?
roof.
I think it was me.
Can you,
Can you
I
come,
was up there and had equipment up
can you
there.
come up to the?
can you go up to
Okay.
that?
My name is, my name is Rick Humphreys. I live at 107 Park Street, Southeast Abington, Virginia. Just from the projects that I've done in the past, is while I had equipment up there and had the availability to be able, to, first of all, inspect that roof, both from inside and outside, I would really consider going ahead and trying to replace that, because if not, it could very well happen as far as paint-wise, exactly like this did. If you remember when this was painted, and then it started peeling and coming off, so it then presented additional problems. This might solve all your problems at one time as far as like the roofing part of it, the roofing component. Now, I don't know what kind of shape that's in right now. I think you mentioned it may start, we can start leaking next week, and so.
Any roof can, though. I mean, a brand new
Well,
roof can leak.
but your roofer, but it's under, your roofer will come back, fix it for you then, and it won't cost the county anything, so. But anyway, I mean, that on the roof. As far as the color, I think the color that they have, that they matched up from I think that's fine. You know, probably originally it probably had, well, it was not a metal roof to begin with, so, you know, I think that what they're doing now is fine for the roof.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment on the roofing portion alone?
I'm Byron Geisler, 228 East Main Street. I'll just echo what Rick said, that, I know that obviously this board would like to keep these crimped roofs as long as we could, but, once they start leaking, that's a problem. I know that this board did approve a replacement of a crimped roof on the visitor center with a raised seam roof like this, and that turned out nicely. So, and I think going back to the original color that's reflected in the portion that the paint's been removed, that's a good idea. So I would be in favor of that part of the proposal.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have any motion to do anything? Or any further comment, questions?
I'll move that we approve the replacement of that section with the standing seam to match the other that you've used,
I'll second.
color-wise and other.
If I may interject, I would also incorporate the gutters to be half round downspout. And just make sure that should be.
Are you okay with adding that into
Yep.
the motion? Okay, that's fine. Add that into the motion.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Oh,
I'll second.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Before y'all vote, can I make one comment?
Sure.
I completely wholeheartedly agree with you all that the round gutter is period appropriate. The issue is with the building that big, we're gonna have a lot of overflow when it rains. The gutter will not hold what water will come off the roof. Does that make sense? I'm just being practical. I'm not trying to
Right.
knock anything, but that's one of the issues that we have had on that building in the past. I don't know if there's a solution. I'm looking for you all.
I mean, those are in our guidelines, those gutters and downspouts.
Can I
And
let y'all look at this?
Sure.
This is one of the old photos of the gutter. It shows the round gutter, but if you look at this, it almost looks like that may not be round. But we'll do whatever y'all want to do.
That which might not be the,
The downspouts are definitely round, but this piece up almost here almost looks like it's some type of a more ornate gutter
yeah,
piece.
maybe.
It doesn't look like it's a half round. Because we can do a 6-inch half round, as big as they'll make half round.
I was gonna ask
What we've
that,
seen in
is
the past
6
is-
is as big as you can go.
A lot of times, on that big of a roof, it's gonna pass over and bounce right out of the gutter.
And not with a OG gutter.
An OG, they can make it bigger and it doesn't have that, it doesn't splash out over it on a big, like it does on a big roof.
Mhm.
Because they can make it deeper and collect the water. But like I said, we'll do whatever y'all want to do.
just let me look through these. I want to make sure that we're following our guidelines. Give me
Okay.
a second. I mean, our guidelines really are trying to keep us, follow the period of the building, and this
Yes,
is
ma'am.
such an important building that I'm sort of leaning toward using the round. I don't know how everyone else feels.
I'm sort of leaning the original,
Yeah.
the round as well.
I mean,
too.
that,
Okay.
because the building in the middle of town needs to reflect our guidelines.
I fully understand it.
Okay.
We're happy to do that.
So-
I just wanted to
All right.
point out the problem that I think
is gonna happen.
Okay.
It'll happen, and then show that picture, because it's really not 100% clear in the
Well,
picture.
okay, well, we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded, so we're gonna have to act on that, so. I guess, do you wanna tell us what it was, Nick?
So I've got approval of the replacement of the roof and gutters as presented.
Okay,
If I'm wrong, this is correct.
I think that's.
So that would not be as presented. You
No.
all are, they are presenting something different than you all are
Right.
requesting,
But-
so
but
not as
Peyton
presented.
was speaking about the round, the half round.
Yeah, so not as presented, but should
Wait.
make a motion. So I guess if that's the
Retract the
motion,
first
you should
motion.
retract your
Okay.
second and retract the first motion.
Sorry about this.
Perhaps we go back and just do a roof and then a gutter one separately to make it super clear.
Okay, let's make a motion on the roof.
Yeah.
All right, as presented. Is that what you want to do?
Well, I made it, just take the gutters off,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye. Okay, now do you want to address the gutters with a motion?
Well, I'm a little bit bothered about creating a maintenance issue.
I know.
I mean, when they overflow, what happens?
Exactly.
Does it get
Yeah,
down
my
into the
whole
street?
issue about it, I don't really worry about the rain. If we have a hard rain, in 30 minutes it's gonna be gone. Where it really bothers me is when we get to snow, and the snow starts melting off, and then it starts overflowing, and then it gets on the sidewalk, and then we get ice.
Mhm.
And that's where it affects me more than anything. And that's, I know that's 2 or 3 months out of the year, but it can either make or break someone, literally,
Yeah.
so.
Do we have any public comment on the gutters?
My name is Jeff Johnson, live at 102 East Main Street here in Abingdon, Virginia. Could there not be somewhat of a compromise? You were talking, Kevin, relative to the snow. From an architectural standpoint, Peyton, any snow breaks, any additions to the roof to prevent snow from sliding, but also may act somewhat as a water break. That would decrease the flow coming down, decrease the speed. What causes the overflow is the velocity. Whether or not there's a compromise
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
basically velocity and volume as it gets bigger.
Yeah, I mean, the 6-inch, I think, would handle the volume. It's the velocity coming down, given the slope.
The only problem, and I agree with you, I don't
Well,
want
no,
to
I mean,
argue, I definitely don't
I'm
argue.
looking for a compromise.
The problem is if you do like a standard snow break, it actually sits on top of the rib. So you're already an inch, you've got an 1.5 inch hole there that all the water's still gonna rush underneath the snow break. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I mean, if you
I didn't know
wanted.
if there was something that could be a compromise.
Right.
And Peyton may be able to provide some insight in the actual valleys.
Right, if there, there may be a product out there that I'm not aware of, but a standard snow break would sit on top of the ribs.
And from the picture, it appears the upper roofs did not have gutters. It's only on the lower,
Yep.
the lower roof that has the gutters.
So in theory, if you put guttering on the upper, you're gonna reduce or direct the volume, try to
We
control
would
some.
direct it and probably make it worse in certain points, because you'd be putting the water in between one or two ribs.
Put box hedges, you have on our workplace. It's a box. As the pipe starts coming down, there's a box there, and the box collects water and then lets it down a little slower. And, the boxes can be many different sizes, they're large, they're just, copper boxes.
Right.
And, but, I don't know that any of us in here, I know I don't, have the expertise to direct, a thought of what might be available for guttering, because I think a half round gutter would be great. I don't want to cause a lot of problems, but I think that maybe there's either A, a design group that could do this, or B, there's somebody in a larger city that could say, hey, gosh, we have these big buildings and they have, we have 10-inch rounds, or we have 8-inch rounds. And this would show more enough coverage with the amount of water that's going to come off. so you would need to know, how many gallons is gonna come off per minute and all that kind of stuff. And that will make you make a more educated decision, I would think. And I just felt sure that there's something, you're not gonna put the guttering on the last thing anyway.
Yeah.
So that's something you could table if you wanted to.
Would you be
and then come back
comfortable
to the rest.
tabling the gutters until we can look at some other solutions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have a motion to do that?
I guess I would start with your roofer first
Yeah.
and see if they have any.
Right, and we've talked in 6-inch, like you discussed, is the biggest thing that's available.
Who's an 8 now? Who's an 8 now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean about something, a dam,
Right.
something that could go on and not compromise the roof by putting more holes in it. Or putting holes in it.
Okay.
Well, I feel like the consensus might be to table this part of it. Would you like to make a motion for that?
Yes.
That's fine, we'll bring a proposal, get something together for the next meeting and bring it to the board.
Table in anticipation of some investigation.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye. Okay, so the next thing I guess we need to talk about is.
The easy one?
Yeah.
Well, we still, well, we have two other, we have the shutters, and we have the windows to discuss.
Right, the
Okay.
shutters were not in our original scope of work to replace. That is something we mentioned that we might be able to do if we
Okay.
had money remaining, depending on what happened with the windows, that we could make the cupola area more historically correct.
All right, well, why don't you go ahead, I guess Gabe's given the staff findings on the
For the
windows.
windows, yeah.
So you can go ahead with what you just gave us. and-
Okay, what I gave you, because we didn't have it in there, is basically the condition of the existing windows that are on the roof. And basically working through the lower west, we see those that they are a replacement window. There's only one window, which was the upper east window, that is totally different than the rest of them. It's the only window that has glass in it. The rest of them have, and Gabe, if you want to scroll down,
Yep, you just let me know.
it's the one with got the glass in it, it's got the broken
I think I know what you're talking about.
top mullion.
I think
That
it's
one right there. So that one is the only window that's like that, and if you scroll down a little further, there's a tighter picture of the mullion of that window. Keep going, keep going. If you see on this window here, it's got a flat outer mullion, and it's got wood stops inside of it. And if you scroll back up, you see the other ones. Go to the other side when you see it. These windows, this mullion is narrower, and it's got those panes are puttied in. So that's why we believe that the two windows, they're two different windows. And so we've got one original, we've got 6 that are replaced, and then one was a vinyl clad window. And so when we picked the the aluminum clad windows that we were suggesting putting in, we matched the mullion pattern of the windows that were there. And the existing, just to give you an idea on the size, because I think some of these pictures are misleading when you look at them, but if you go to back to the cupola, you'll see that the center mullion between the existing and the ones we started putting in, they line up the same place with the shutters. But the window panel size on the upper, originally, they were 8 1/4 by 15 1/2. The new windows are 7 3/4 by 16 5/8. The lower were 10 5/8 by 16, and the new ones are 11 3/8 by 18.
Do we have
So
any
that's
idea
kind
when,
of-
excuse me, do we have any idea when those replacement windows were put in?
I do not, Peyton. You know, if I had to just looking at the windows and guessing, it was probably sometime in the 50s, just looking by the way they're constructed.
1950s.
In the 50s, that the lower windows and the first replacements, because they're totally different. The other ones are wood style, where they put in with wood. And then just looking at one of the older pictures, it almost appears they were all originally 3/3, 3 by 4 deep instead of 4/4 deep. If you look at real close, it's hard to tell on that, but when you see it on the computer and can blow it up, the lines seem to be like they're 3/3 things. But Kevin and I have talked, and we'll put in whatever y'all want to put in.
Apparently, they didn't try to put the same pattern in with the replacements then, if these are originally 3/3.
And everything in the original courthouse, you look at the old pictures, they're all 3/3, which. And it looked like they kept the shutters shut most of the time. Because the old pictures, all the shutters
Yeah.
are, it looked like it almost didn't have windows.
And what year is this picture from, do you know?
It was when the statue was in the middle of the circle.
All right, so that's been before my time here.
One of them had like an old Model T, it looked like, in it, and another one did not have. It just had a guy on a horse in it. The two
Oh.
pictures, when you're looking at them real close.
Okay, well,
And with what we found, and I don't, like I said, we'll do whatever y'all want to do. From the ground up, the window layout is very similar to what everybody in recent history has seen. The 4/4. I know there are aluminum clad windows. The interior department allows for that to happen. The historical code, for the most part, allows that to happen. There's one caveat which says in public view. I know this is in public view, but you can't get within 200 feet of this to really tell what that material is. What I'd love to do with the county's money is put in the windows we have and spend the money and historically correct the shutters, get them to line up with the windows like they originally were, get them operable like they originally were, and use the money there and fixing what damaged wood we have in the fascias.
okay. And we have any public comment?
So again, I'm Byram Geisler, 228 East Main. So I guess the information that's being presented is, I guess, that maybe the thought process is that one of these wooden windows is an original, and that I guess that would make 6 of the other ones.
A total of 8.
What I mean, 6 more modern wood.
Yes, correct.
And then a more modern vinyl window.
Vinyl one, I guess.
And so I guess my first reaction to that is that if the windows are to be replaced, they need to be replaced with, similar manufactured wooden windows, true wooden replacement windows, not these sort of, I guess, mass-produced modern windows that are not going to look right. The buttons are not going to look right. They're not going to appear to be, they're not going to in any way appear to be original windows, even though the window placement might be the same. As Gabe pointed out, the features of them are going to be very different. And so if this board were to allow for replacement windows, then they need to be, reproduced artisan windows to replace what would have been there originally, like the one original window. The guidelines, both this board's guidelines and the Department of Interior guidelines and the Virginia Department of Historic Resource guidelines all call for repair instead of replacement. And so if these are in fact replacement windows, which I guess they they appear to be, because of the pictures, I've not seen those pictures, but I take it they show that. Then, you know, they were replaced at some point. I think the date of 1950s was mentioned. I don't know if that's the right date. I guess none of us know. It could be earlier, it could not be. But those windows could be repaired. Those windows are capable of being repaired. They're wooden windows. They fit the spaces. They've been up there for some time period. Repairing those windows would be preferable to be putting in the new windows that are being proposed to put in now. Again, if the board feels that these are not, you know, not the original windows, then if a replacement window is appropriate, then it needs to be a true replacement. It needs to be like materials, like manufacturer, like the original window, the one original window we have. We need those to be replaced. But you know, an easier position would be just to replace. I mean, to repair the ones that we have here. We had the gentleman that came and spoke at our historic preservation conference, David Hoggard. You know, he has his business in Greensboro called Double Hung LLC, and all they do is restore windows. So it would be a pretty straightforward matter of having these existing windows taken to his studio and be repaired and then brought back and put back in place. I have an 1835 house. When I purchased it, the windows were in horrible condition. They looked just like these windows. There was missing wood, there was missing glass, and you know, these windows were made to be repaired. You can take, if there's missing glass, you just replace the glass and reglaze. If there's missing wood, you just replace the wooden component that's missing and repair them. So these windows can be repaired. So I would submit that you know, one of two things needs to happen. One would be these windows that maybe they are replacement windows, some of them, they be repaired and put back in the courthouse. And I don't know what the condition of the frames for the windows. It looked like there had been a lot of pieces torn out when these were removed and broken apart.
Frames are still, wood that they were attached to is still there.
Okay. What was all the debris
That
and
is the
stuff?
seals.
The seals.
The wood seals, and the upper ones, there were about 20% of the wood seals left in the upper area, and anywhere from 40 to 60% in the lower.
And those are going to have to be repaired no matter what. I mean, those are going to be
wood seals?
right.
Well, that'll have to be new wood. 'Cause
Right.
they don't exist. I mean, 80% of it doesn't exist.
And is the proposal to do that with
We would-
replicate what was there?
We would try to replicate what's there.
So that would be, I think, the preferable thing to do would be to repair these windows and put them back in place, or come up with true reproduction windows made similar to replace what was there or what was originally there. Again, if we have that one window that's an original window, then that could serve as a model. But I think that's going to be quite a bit more difficult. But I think the worst solution is to take these truly modern-looking windows that are not like the original windows, they're not like what was there, that will not appear correct, will stand out, and put them in the cupola. You know, the courthouse is a building in the historic district that's on the National Register of Historic Places in its own right. It's an iconic building in town. The cupola is used for a symbol. The county uses it for a symbol. It's a symbol for, you know, our historic district. So it needs to look right. And I think under any scenario, putting these modern windows in is not an appropriate solution under any of our guidelines or any guidelines.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Rick Humphreys at 107 Park Street again, and I just want to reiterate what Byram says, and maybe even go a little further. It depends on exactly how much in the weeds you want to get. But you could look and get like Mike Pulis, and I'm sure you've heard Mike's name before. He's out of Roanoke. He's with Department of Historic Resources. You get Mike to come down, look at them, see if he can make a determination of which frame may be original. But as Byram said, to repair instead of replace would be the preferable thing to do. And in working with the Department of Interior people, one of the things I found out is if there's something there and you know what it looks like, they would approve that. But if you are kind of going to come up with something saying like, well, it could have been 3 over 3, unless they have a picture or a verbal description of it being in that place, they're not going to approve it for you. Or, I mean, not that you have to have it approved, but I'm talking about as a builder. You won't get it to be able to have it approved. So, either A, get Mike down to look at it and see if he can make a determination. He might not be able to. Your wood guy, the guy that was here for the wood, putting the windows back together, he might have an idea. Or you have the majority of windows there that have been seen for all this time, repair and replace, repair instead of replace those and use those. And, and that's kind of you all can weed through it any way you want to. But I think the bottom line is if you can repair rather than replace, even if you're going to replace 80% of that window, it's still better than putting in the new modern windows. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Oh, and I've got some pictures of some windows that that you might, some ones that I had restored. The county guy wouldn't get a hold of it.
Okay. To see those.
That's 18.
Oh, wow.
It's all those are done. And some of them are probably 70%. And I said, but some of them are 70%, have been replaced.
The same one? Okay.
Well, it's just.
You have them restored, you got a picture of them restored?
Yeah,
Can
sure do.
we see one of those too?
It might not be as close in, but they're.
Can I ask a question about the one, you have one window that you think is the original, you only think one of them is?
Yes, ma'am.
But
Do you have a
the,
picture of that one, Gabe? Can you put that
the
picture
other
of
ones,
that
the
one
other
on?
7 that you're discussing are all,
Redone?
do you think they're all put in one at a time as time went on, or was there a
No,
bunch done?
they appeared all match.
They did all match?
There was the only one that was different, and
Was
it's the
just
one
one.
that had glass.
That's clean.
That looks really
wood.
good.
That's wood.
That's all
That's all
wood.
wood. It's all wood.
All wood, yeah. In fact, there used to be a local group that did them in Abingdon.
Oh,
In fact, they did a project for the town down at the depot. So down at the train depot, they had a bunch of those windows had to be reworked, and so they made some of the windows down there. And you can't even tell that they,
Yeah.
they're new or old. And then, of course, they made the skylights.
okay.
And they used basically the component parts from like windows they had found.
Oh, good.
A question, I wasn't able to attend the window.
Part of our historic day.
Portion.
Okay.
Did that presenter give any kind of idea of comparative cost for having a window replicated, built totally new versus repaired?
I don't, Maya, do you remember?
I think all they do is repair.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't make new windows?
I don't think that,
I think that's right. I mean, I don't know.
It's- It's a case-by-case basis because everyone would be different.
yeah.
So there's not really a set price. It's more based on the case of how each window, if it came to them, what would it take?
When we've done it in the past, it's like if a piece of mullions too damaged to adhere or join any wood to it, they'll replace that piece of mullion only.
Yeah.
Or they'll
There you go.
replace this piece.
You're exactly right.
And basically, we made knives and we rebuild those same and glue up
Same profile.
Yeah.
a window, and you get a half old, half new wood window. And you paint it and hope for the best.
Do we have any more public comment? Mr. Johnson?
Sorry, Jim. Get out of your way.
Once again, Jeff Johnson, 102 East Main Street. I'll echo what Mr. Giesler and Mr. Humphreys have stated, but also want to state that I certainly understand and appreciate Burwell's and the town's concern relative to replacement windows. However, It's been the stance of the board in the past, it's been the stance of the town since they enacted the OH ordinance back in the early 70s. There's been a renewed emphasis particularly on windows. You replace like for like. Windows are one of the most historic, if not the most historic features of any structure. And I understand long-term, from a maintenance standpoint and what have you, it may not be the easiest, but it is architecturally correct. And that's what the board, or has been the stance of the board that I've found in the past, is that you preserve what is there. If you start changing things, then you set a precedence, and I understand you're 200 feet away. However, it's not wood. It's going to be clad. Just needs to be, just like the provisions state, either repaired. If you can't repair it, then replace it with like features, wood for wood. And that's not always easy, but that is correct. So,
Thank you. I'd
Thank
also like to mention that since we have the Summers Rooftop as one of our premier locations in Abington, those windows aren't 200 feet away anymore. They are more visible from that location. Something to think about.
no, it is. It is. And the board wrestled with the Summers building for
You
an
were
extended
here.
period of time. I was there to try to get it correct. You know, and again, you start cutting corners and then saying, okay, we're going to allow this. Pretty soon, the character of the building itself has changed. And that's what the board has worked extremely hard on to avoid in years past.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to add any more comments to this?
I just wanted to, you all seemed interested.
You're like Columbo. You got one more thing.
These are before and after of our windows, and you can see that they're, you know, in very bad shape and falling apart. And we, you know, had to do the same thing. We had to replace missing wood parts. But when they were done, you know, I'm not just hoping everything sticks together. I mean, they're great windows, and I think they'll be around for hundreds of years more if they're properly maintained. I mean, they're not, you can see from the pictures, they look great. And look at the dormer there. I mean, the bottom part was just really the frame around the edge. There wasn't even any, you know, buttons in it, so they had to replace all of that. But it looks great, and they're nice and sturdy, and you know, they're doing the job. So even though these windows look bad, that they can be repaired and be made into great windows. And as Jeff said, they're what was there. They're infinitely better than putting modern, flat, inappropriate windows in the cupola of the courthouse, which is apparently the only alternative. So, you know, if we're not going to have reproduction, properly made windows to be whatever was the original there, then these windows that have served the purpose for, you know, what, at least 60 years, maybe more, maybe 70 years, those need to be repaired and put back up there. They're infinitely better than modern replacement windows.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I would,
You know, just a comment.
Mr. Humphreys, could you come up to
the
the-
Department of Interior
could you come up to the
says
podium,
the
Mr.
windows
Humphreys?
are the soul of the house.
Oh,
So that's like taking the soul of the house out.
if I may interject one more thing, just to reiterate the point. Even though the windows would have plexiglass in them, that does not mean that they're not original. As I said before, if they were the original windows, which the original window has 16 panes, most of them have 16 panes or glass in them. With the original windows, you can take a pane out, the glass broke, and you can put plexiglass in. So even if plexiglass is there in those windows, that does not mean they're not original. Most likely the panes were probably replaced at one point. So I would keep that in mind, because as we saw with our window restoration guy, once a pane is broken in a window and it's a historic window, you can just remove that pane that was broken. With replacement windows, if a pane breaks, you gotta replace the whole window. So even if they have plexiglass, I would keep in mind that usually the technique to fix historic windows that have broken panes are just to replace the pane. So that could be why you see plexiglass.
okay.
Does anyone know when wood stopped being used in glazing? This is what you said, that the original window is
It appears
wood.
to be wood stops, yes, sir.
But
I do
I've
not
never
know.
seen that in Abingdon. It may exist, but most of the ones you see are puttied in, and that technique must have overlapped the wood stops historically, I would guess. But
The Roses did that.
who did?
The Roses used, like in their cupboards, they used little tiny wood stops to hold in the glass rather than glaze them.
Oh.
Okay, so, what do we-
Just a couple of comments. As an architect, and I'm not saying I never failed to notice some requirement, but I think the architect of this project had a responsibility to sort of read the guidelines with a whatever you call it.
Magnifying.
Magnifying glass, thank you, Dwayne. I mean, that's particularly as the whole process of getting the courthouse to stay in Abingdon was so fraught, and so many people wanted to see it stay. I think if you poll those people, you might find they'd also want to think that it was maintained in its historic character.
that's a good point. Thank you.
And the other thing is, well, just as Byram said, it is an iconic building. It's probably the most important building from a cultural and social standpoint as well as architectural in town. And I feel like we need to uphold that standard.
Would you like to make a motion?
Well, not sure I know quite how to word it, but I guess,
And board, if I may, just in the motion, I guess if we could get direction if we're gonna match, the one, all of them to that
The
window.
one window or
Or we're gonna match them
to the six
to the
windows?
like kind window, and then the window that's a vinyl.
I think we should start with this window here first.
Right. And then,
then-
so we have a direction on which way we need to go.
Does that
And then
sound
as
like
far as
you?
the glass replacement, are we just gonna go with regular float glass in it and putty it in, or are y'all looking to go back with historic glass? We could get,
We stored to
Have names?
historic.
oh, we
Stewards.
done it ourselves, so I just need to know what way, how we need to go.
I said, redone, back to
I'm sorry.
the best of historic that we can get.
So, I mean, it sounds like from your question that, I mean, now, you're presenting as the option is replicating these windows, but the other option is to repair the windows that are there. I understand there would be one window, I guess, that will have to be, under all circumstances, replicated.
We would, those 12 pieces of glass are the only non-plexiglass pieces of glass in that big.
Right, I understand that,
And
so.
we need to know, what kind of glass we're on. The mullions, 20% to 40% of the mullions are bad. They're gonna have to replace. And when we get into it, we're gonna end up having to be, we're gonna have to go, instead of half of it's gone, we're gonna have to go 3/4 of the way down to get wood to go back, to go build these back. And we just need to know if we're building back per window, it is there, or are we trying to go back and match the original?
So my response to that would be that we just need to repair each window
Yeah.
the way each window is.
Except for the one,
To preserve
right?
as much of it as possible.
Isn't there one vinyl one, though? What do you want to do about, like?
Well, I guess that
Would have
will
to-
have to, you will have to replace like with like
Yeah.
under our guidelines.
Yeah.
And in terms of the glass, there's just regular glass where there are companies, there's a company called, I think Benheim, that makes restoration glass, and they make it either the very heavily waved or the medium waved. I got the very heavy waved, and I love it. It looks great because it matches the glass that was there. I guess there's not, is the glass that's original, is it the wavy glass with seeds and?
I would have to go look at
So, I mean, if you're going to, go to the trouble of restoring the glass, the windows, they definitely look a lot better if you use restoration glass, because they will have the appearance of the way the window looked originally, so.
Did you say that the vinyl window would have to be replicated as is?
No, I'm saying that,
That's-
I guess the vinyl window is going to have to be replaced unless you're going to let it be put back in.
As a
which-
replication of one of the original?
Right, yes.
And do our guidelines address the glass itself?
I don't think it
I don't think it does. No.
You know,
And once again, Rick Humphreys, 107 Park Street, we also use from the Benheim, they're out of New Jersey, the glass up there, and they pre-cut the glass. So, because where you go to pre-cut that old, like, the old light glass, that's where you get a lot of breakage. So they did 300 and some panes for us. And it runs about $50 a pane, is about what it runs. And so, but it really would make that pop up there, and it really what should be done.
It's a lot. Where's Betsy when I need her?
Well, so, I mean, I think what they're asking for you to do is to say what type of glass. And then if you are wanting each one of these windows to be repaired, so the one that's original would be a repaired original. The 6 that are that they're calling first replace would be repair as first replace. And then your vinyl clad one, you could either choose for it to be, could choose for it to be like the replaced ones, a full wooden window. So it's really only 2 things, the glass type, and then are you having these all be repaired rather than replaced?
Is the glass type gonna be all the same in all of it, or are we gonna try to get period glass for the period window?
and Rick, do you think the glass itself is gonna be, you can tell the difference?
Oh, gosh. Please come to our house, and Byron used it too, didn't you?
I mean, from standing down on the
You come to my house,
street.
It's the difference between,
I mean, from the 200-foot distance.
Yes. Oh, and one of the things is, one of the kind of interesting things, I think, will be sitting up there on Summers Bar, or Summers at the restaurant, and looking over there, because of the way the refraction is gonna be through that glass when the sun's setting. It'll truly be like it was back in 1868.
Where's the vinyl window?
It's in the basement.
No. Where,
Oh,
which one is
It was
it?
in the,
You just tell me
vinyl
what's,
clad was in the upper south.
Upper south? That's west. You said upper south?
That is upper south, yes.
Facing Main Street?
Yes.
I really feel like if we're gonna go to all of this trouble to repair the windows that are there, I have a little bit of an objection to just making 7 beautiful windows and putting a vinyl window back in. I
No,
think,
we wouldn't do that.
well, that's what he said, like for like.
I just asked him.
No, I'll do whatever y'all want.
Oh, okay. He
didn't mean
That
that.
was what.
Oh, I heard that somewhere, okay.
Yes, that's what they said.
Okay.
I was just gonna do what y'all told me.
What I'm recommending is that with the vinyl window be replaced with
Okay.
a window to match the
Can you
other
clarify
window.
that?
Thank you, my
Yes,
head is
I'm not
spinning.
proposing putting a vinyl window
Okay.
back in. And while I'm up there, I just want to say, you all are doing an amazing job on the addition. I mean, I go over there and look at it all the time. It looks fantastic. It's going to be such an addition to the town. And so, I just would really encourage, that same sort of, the kind of detail and attention to the old courthouse is just going to make a really amazing facility.
Okay, so you gotta come up with a motion?
Can I
Nope.
say something?
Sure.
I understand that we don't know which window is original, and we are assuming that the one window is the original window. Would it not look better and be more period correct if all of them match that one, instead of having different windows in there? And like I said, I don't want to start an argument, that kind of thing. I'm just curious. Would it not look more period correct, especially from the bar, from the rooftop bar? If you're sitting there and you're looking at one window up here and it doesn't match this one down here, it just, I think from an aesthetic standpoint, that they all need to match. And whichever one you all choose to be the one that we're going to do, personally, I think you would be better off.
So you'd rather do replacement windows for the other 7 had the manufactured wood
I
manufactured?
would, I just as from a ownership standpoint and just from looks, you know. Just because the mullions are different, and there is a difference in them, if you know.
Just to address that, I'm gonna quit saying this my last time, John.
Just sit in the front.
I mean, I personally tend to agree with you, but I know from doing my project that, and working with the Department of Historic Resources, that it is preferable to, you know, unless something is a modern aberration, it's preferable to leave what's there and repair what's there and have the authenticness of the building than it is to make everything look nice. So the idea in his, Peyton, correct me if I'm wrong or anybody else, the idea from an historic preservation standpoint is if you had, you know, wooden windows that were replaced in the 1920s or the 1950s and you can repair them, it's better to repair those and leave those there than it is to go back and make all new windows that make it look like maybe what it looked like in 1868 and have it look nice. It's better to preserve the history that's there, you know, unless you have something like this modern vinyl window, which is clearly
Right.
no,
Yes.
doesn't
The
tell
vinyl's
doesn't
gotta-
tell
yeah, the vinyl's gotta go.
doesn't tell a story, doesn't
Right.
tell anything the history of the building. When my building was in 1835, but there was a collapse, and in the 1860s they put these mercantile spaces in, and I wanted to take those out and make it look like it originally looked, but I wanted to fix something else, but I wanted to leave those in, and they, you know, what the Department of Historic Resources told me was, no, you can't do that. You can't, you know, create a pretty building. You've got to leave the historic features that tell the story the way they are. So I personally agree with you, but I think from an historic preservation standpoint, there's some importance to preserving the historical things that are there, even if some of them have changed. Some of them have changed over
The same
over
thing happened to me
time.
with the porch. I wanted to do a porch, and it was a smaller porch I found where the foot-long holes were, where it had only been 6 foot by 6 foot. It's gonna be, and now it's gonna be 12 feet. Well, that's why it had been, you know, more recent. And they said, no, you can't do this. You can't do it in small, unless you have a picture or something that shows what it looks like. You can't make it up of what you thought it was like. You have to go with what is there. And so we did that. It wasn't what we wanted to do. It wasn't what we thought we,
Right,
looked
but,
at.
but we've got pictures of it, 3 by 4 instead of a 4 by 4. You know, so do you go back that far? To
The
make it-
pictures, the shutters are
to make it
closed, so
correct.
how can you tell?
I've seen
Yeah,
this.
like I said, I don't know.
So I've seen this picture when I was doing the research, and to me, it's too hard to see the actual buttons, the actual breakdown of the glass. And typically, historic windows had more panes because the window itself and the glass was not strong like we have now. So that's why, as we've seen here, the original one had 16 panes of glass. So let's just say let's assume that's the original one. There are only 2 that don't match the 16 panes. There's one that's got 12 panes, which that was probably a first generation, because as it went on, glass got stronger, so you could put less panes in. Then we have the vinyl one that tried to match the original, but it's vinyl clad and it has simulated lights. And the wood stops and putty. Putty's been around since the 1700s to glaze windows in. So there's probably some overlap with either they use wood stops or putty, depending on the thing. But putty's been around since the 1700s to glaze windows. So there's really 6 windows that have 16 panes in them. There's only 2 that do not match, either the material or the panes. There's one that's 12, that is this one, 4, 8, 12, and then there's the vinyl one. So there's 6 that have 16 panes. There's only 2 that do not match, whether it's material or number of panes.
Okay.
And is that original?
No, this one I believe is not
Where is
the
it?
original one. The original one, so let me.
Where is
zoom out.
this one?
Where's that one on the building?
Cupola?
Where on the building is that one, Gabe?
That one I don't know.
I don't know.
That one was
I'd
taken
have to
out.
ask my guys.
This is what the original
Which one did it came out of?
is. So you can see there's, just imagine there's panes here.
Right.
4, 8, 12, 16. And I went through the pictures. There's 16 panes for 6 of them. There's only 2. One has 12, doesn't match. And the other one is vinyl.
Okay. Do we have comment?
Walter Jenny, President of the Historical Society, 16298 Highlands Log Drive, Abington. Gabe, do you have pictures at the bottom of this of the 19-teens, 1920s, the early photograph?
It's an early photograph, but
Yes.
again, the shutters are closed and everything.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering if those could be zoomed in on to see if they were 3/4 or what they were.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, as the applicant stated, this one, there's one that's open, but it's hard to even see the buttons that are broken down. And most of the time, every picture I've seen, the shutters are closed, unfortunately. Would have been nice if they were kept open.
It could have been a window that was left out of the main structure. The main structure has a 3x4.
That's true.
So it could have been one that they replaced down there and just took that there to get rid of it, put it up in the attic, you know, and that might be one of the, but I think those are 4x4s and making them all 4x4s.
Make them all
Repairing all the 4x4s and then replacing the one completely that's the vinyl, with the wood.
What are you gonna do with the ones that have 12 panes in it?
That's what he-
So somebody else will go, what, wonder where this came from? What were you thinking?
So then you just need to make a
I'm not
decision on
stalling
the
it.
glass restoration.
No, which ones are original?
Well, so if we're going to pick one as the model and include that one so-called original one, is that 4/4? Although I'm not sure anybody would notice one that's different, particularly if it's not on the front of the prominent facade of the kit.
Has anyone noticed it for years? I haven't.
But I guess we'll go with that as a motion. Repairing the original ones, or the first replacement and the original, to match the 4/4. And then create a new window matching those, to replace the vinyl window. And to use the historic glazing.
I'll second that.
I'm just writing this down real quick.
Did I miss anything?
No, I think you're good. So, Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
I included the shutters because we talked about it, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if you wanted to do that one. If not, we can just
Unless the
bypass
county
that
wants to
one.
replace them,
No,
not
we're-
scheduled to replace
Okay,
them.
Okay.
can I,
As is.
Okay.
can I also just,
One missing.
Yep.
I wanted to say one more thing is, I guess this was confusing. When we originally gave a COA, it was for the new courthouse.
Right.
We never had anything come up with the original courthouse. So just keep in mind that anything else that you do, you need to come to us first, so we don't have to go through this again. Appreciate that, thank you.
And I don't need to be out of order or anything of this nature, but I want to echo what Byron has said. Burwell and the county are doing an excellent job. That is the centerpiece of our town. And as a citizen, someone who owns a historic house, I'm very, very appreciative of everything that you all do, and the detail that you're going to. Thank you.
Did we talk I don't remember what you said about the shutters.
We're not gonna discuss
That was just in our
this today.
conversation, so I added in
Yeah.
the staff report just in case that was brought up, so we
Yeah.
have the details of them. But since they've mentioned that those are not on the they're not gonna replace them now, then we're just gonna
Right.
bypass that.
But
part
if you
then.
decide to do anything in the future with the
They'll
shutters.
stay as is for right
Okay.
Who do we talk to that's gonna do this?
now. We could, I don't know.
Okay.
I thought they were plastic.
Um,
Did somebody tell me that?
Never mind.
Excuse me?
Somebody said that the shutters were vinyl and plastic.
They are.
They are.
And they're just nailed to the building, they're not operating.
Right, some of the hardware's there. but some of
Maybe we can
it's-
find a donor.
Okay, do we have any other public comment on anything that was discussed tonight? We just have the old business? Do you wanna do
So-
the old business?
So just to give you an update about Historic Preservation Day, it was a success. We've even had people from different localities, realtors, property owners that are from out of the area too, saying they had a wonderful time at the event. They've asked for the slides and they just said thank you for putting it on. They learned so much and everything, so it was a great success, and I guess we reached everybody near and far, so.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive feedback from Historic Preservation Day, and I think if we do it again every year, it's going to get bigger and better,
Yeah, and
draw in more people.
and Mike Pulis has already offered to do a talk on bricks, so.
Well, and the window presentation certainly was timely,
Mhm.
so thank you for
Well,
doing it.
I'm new to all the historic preservation, and I thought that week that we had, or the gentleman that was here on that Thursday, that was really great for me, because I learned a lot from the whole aspect of historic district. And as we can see now, things that are going on that we talked about, are things that are presented to us today, so it really helps out a lot.
Yeah.
That was a great job.
Other than that, I figured I'd just give you guys an update on that. That
Okay.
seems to be a great success.
The
Other
only
than that,
suggestion I would have,
oh, yeah.
sorry, is that we not do the bus/walking tour.
Mhm.
It's just too hard to communicate to a group of that kind of size.
I actually thought for maybe next year, we should do something with our 3 churches on Main Street, because there's such beautiful architecture and they're all different, and I
Mhm.
think we haven't really ever addressed the interiors or the
Well,
exteriors of those.
Yeah, I think the purpose of the tour is a good one,
Yeah,
but I just don't, it's too easy for people to sort of having their own conversations, and I would suggest doing it with slides
Yeah.
in a room,
okay.
whether I'm involved or not as the presenter.
Keep those in mind, those ideas.
Other than that, we've just got the COA waivers that are from last month, since we were canceled, since we had a council meeting, and this month. If you have any questions or concerns about them, we can go over them. If not, they're just there for you to
Okay.
see.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
To move.
I'll second.
Mr. Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
Okay. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the
Thank you all.
comments, everyone.